Good morning. Um, we've started having the rain that yesterday, I believe, was in Gila Bend, Arizona, that's coming up from Baja and the hurricane stuff. So you had quite a little bit of rain last night. I do not know yet if the Witchwell Farmers Market's going to be open today or not. I was planning to be there. I have not. It's early. I have not walked down to check puddles in the driveway and whether there's ponds and lakes and whether it's passable. Um, so I've had a number of questions and phone calls from Nomad buddies and whatever. And what I kind of want to talk about is, can I still be a nomad and have chickens? Well, yeah. Like, I'm still me. What changed? So I actually know some nomads who have class A's, and they carry chickens in their class A with them so that they can have fresh eggs. Why did simply Lesa get chickens on her micro homestead property when she doesn't like to stay here 24/7? Well, the reason I got chickens was for years I have known that if I eat eggs from chickens who are fed commercially processed grains, I vomit. So I've been eating dehydrated, powdered eggs, and often from one of the companies that is sold less expensive in number 10 cans without me like giving them a plug. My body seems to need protein. I can get it from plant sources. I have been a raw vegan before, but then I had diverticulitis and some other really big issues with digestive things, and so I have to be a little careful. And the food value in powdered eggs or powdered eggs, basically this is egg flour. You dehydrate, you make them into a scrambled egg like mixture. You spread them out on something or spray them on something. And so these big factories do this, right? And the chicken factories, that's where the eggs are coming from, is from normal big chicken producers. And if you've ever seen a chicken farm, oh my goodness, these huge big buildings with lots and lots and lots of birds inside, thousands of birds inside these big metal barn things, and they're hot, and in the summer they have fans running, and and they're stinky, and you don't want to live next door to one. So then they take all these eggs, whoever's processing them, and they scramble them without water, without milk, and then they spray them on sheets and dehydrate them or freeze dry them, whichever company has whichever machines. Freeze drying is really expensive because the machine is expensive. So by the time I eat those eggs, they're so dead. They have no food value. I mean, I know this. So I want the food value when I can have it. Why don't I just buy them from farmers market? I have. Oh, I have. But most people, even in the off-grid homesteading community, a lot of people just go to the feed store and buy chicken feed. Like they now can go buy a bag that says goat feed, and another bag says chicken feed, and another bag says cockatoo feed, and another bag says horse feed. Well, I eat those eggs, and within 5 minutes I vomit. Nobody wants to do that. And I already have so many allergies to food that it's like, darn, can I have one thing that works for me? I have some things that work for me. I'm not, I do eat. So I thought I was going to raise quail because I thought I could eat quail eggs because I'd had canned quail eggs from Oriental markets. And I didn't have any trouble with those. Well, they're canned. Again, they're processed, they're dead, they've been dead for a long time. So I bought quail eggs from a friend in the local area, and I tried them, and both times I vomited so fast. It was like incredible. And I was like, no, I don't. And then I was sick for like 8 or 10 hours or something. Like, it was horribly sick from the quail eggs. And it was the only different thing I had had. So it was a pretty good test. And then I did some research online, and I called the doctor and I asked, and yep, I'm allergic to quail eggs. I am not allergic to quail meat. But because of that, it wasn't worth it for me to raise them. Now, the reason I was going to raise quail was because I already have a greenhouse and I could dedicate a small amount of space. They're wild birds, and they mature within like 6 weeks or something like that. That may not be exactly right. Don't, hold me to that. But they lay a lot of eggs, and 2 or 3 eggs. I think it's 3 eggs is like the size of a regular egg. So you eat like 6 at a time or something. And so I could have had a very small amount of quail. They would have matured. And if I was here 6 weeks, I could have some good eggs that I knew what the birds ate. I could feed them the way I knew. They eat a lot more protein. So, you feed them mealy worms. And I could put some worms in the greenhouse that would help the greenhouse, and they could eat them too. And there were some ways I was going to do some things. But sometimes I'm here 6 weeks. And I thought, well, that would be a great way to have some really good quality eggs while I'm here. Didn't work out because I'm allergic to eggs. So I had to change the decision. And I had thought before it would be kind of cool to have to have some bantam chickens at some point here if I ever was off the road or something like that. Okay. So I got thinking about this, having some quality food, and then started talking to my neighbors about it at farmers market and whatever, friends, and just saying, I think maybe it would be a good idea that while I have to be home, I could have not only the cats while I have to be home that help protect from chipmunks and rats and whatever else, that while I'm home, I could have the chickens and have some better quality eggs for me to eat. And then when I'm ready to travel, I just either gift or sell them to someone else. And if I gift them, maybe I could do it with the idea that the person, when I returned and I wanted to have a chicken again, maybe I could get 1 or 2 hens back from them or something. Not that it's a big deal. It's pretty simple to get another chicken, another hen. And neighborly farmer off-grid style people often will either gift or barter or trade or really give you a deal on the price of a laying hen. Or lots of things, not just laying hens, but lots of things. And so if you're a good neighbor and you live near people who are neighborly, you often can do this transaction. So my idea was, while I have to be here, let me have some good quality food. And like I said, I often, if I go buy eggs at farmers market, even when I'm traveling, I get sick. So I ask, what do you feed your birds? And when I hear that somebody's birds are, 90% of the time they're free range, well, I'll try eating the egg because I don't want to vomit. This is not fun. Yeah, that was kind of a whiny sound, but it's not fun. So, okay, so here's the bigger question to answer. Can I be a nomad and have chickens? Well, heck yeah, I can. Can I be anything? Why do I have to have a label anyways? I mean, this is my life. This is my life, people. And I travel as well as have property. Right now, my focus has been to secure my vehicle situation, because after the little, okay, so what was it, 2 years ago? After the little 2 years ago thing, when the Howa agency gave me the minivan, and 4 months later it needed a $3,000 repair, and that is why I don't have the minivan. I bought a car that I knew was going to have work, because it wasn't a new car. It had, I don't remember, it had over 100,000 miles on it, and it was older, but I knew it was four-wheel drive and it was something I could deal with. And so I knew it was going to have repairs. So all the money I got from the sale of the minivan, I put in the car immediately. So, you know, all new tires, and over time, radiators and water pumps and tensioner pulley and all kinds of things. I'm forgetting things. Thermostats, well, water pump thermostats, right? Radiator cap went bad one time. Had an electrical problem I had to fix when I was down in Yuma. And now I'm starting to deal with front end suspension. My property is 7 miles from pavement. So I'm on 7 miles of dirt roads every time I want to go out to anywhere that's not just a neighbor's. Neighbor's is all on dirt roads. So, well, mostly. Yeah, all on dirt roads. So, and we've had some early monsoon storms, and rain creates mud, creates issues in this county. And so having the four-wheel drive was important to me. And Sue Ann from Howa and from the Bob Wells camp, she and I had a conversation after I finished my contractual agreement with Howa. Sue Ann and I had a conversation, and she gave me her blessing to do what I needed to do for me, because I had finished the contract. So just for those people who wanted to know that piece of story. And so my priorities have been get my vehicle running straight and to be as comfortable when I camp in the vehicle as possible, as well as to come back here and finish what I started last year. Because of COVID, I chose to not just camp on my own property. We have extreme weather here. We have 4 seasons. It's Apache County, Arizona. We have 4 seasons. The year that I was paralyzed, we had 3.5 feet of snow for months. I forget how many months. And we often have the monsoon rain so bad that the roads are washed away, or washed out, so they're rutted really badly and whatever. So I knew once the COVID talk started in 2020 in March. Yeah, March. I was driving home in this SUV that I have, and the radio, all the talk about what was going to happen, and my daughter was working for a military-related company in Virginia, and so I was hearing her stories as well about, you know, what was going on there. And I was like, you know what? Me and some of my Nomad friends, we're going to need a place where we can hunker down, possibly. And if I get older and I can't drive and travel the same because I've had an MS scare and I've been paralyzed and I've had some health issues, if I ever get to where I can't maneuver like I do now, I may need a place to be for an extended period of time. And being here, sleeping in a car, is very different when the weather is extreme. And if some of you watch some of my older videos, you've seen some of those storms. You've heard the cracks of thunder and lightning being really close. That is why I built this studio. And it is a legally unpermitted, basically shed, that will in a couple of weeks, God willing and the creek don't rise, will have the wood stove installed. And so it basically is weatherproof and has the ability to be heated. Outside, I have a separate structure, probably 30 feet away, that serves as an outdoor shower and bathroom. And hopefully before it gets too cold or anything here, or before we have too bad a snowstorm or something, hopefully the roof on that bathroom will be repaired. It's leaking. Poor choice. I followed somebody's advice and it was a poor choice. Not to follow the advice, because at the time it sounded good, but I really need to get some metal on that roof so that it won't leak. And we're putting an addition on it that will also have a roof and at least 3 walls, where there will be a kitchen sink and at least a Dutch oven table where I can do some basic cooking with fire or whatever. Okay, so I can use my Kelly kettle under a roof with a vent and smokestack, so that I can use these things. The things that I use here on the property, most of them go with me in my car, and they're the things I use when I'm out. Yes, if there's a fire ban, I cannot use the Kelly kettle the way I use it. People can use a Kelly kettle by putting other sources of fire inside them besides using wood. Charcoal doesn't work real good in a Kelly kettle. I've tried this. But I have to find ways to do things because I'm allergic to propane. And on top of that, there's the ethical thing about, using petroleum products and being tied to things that come from other places and that aren't renewable and that you can't get your hands on easily. I have lots of firewood on my own property, and in this area there's pretty good firewood. So if I'm using small amounts of it, I have wood for a long, long time. And generally that's the kind of thing I'll do. I just learned let me not go there, because that's a different conversation. We'll talk about heating and firewood and stuff some other time. But can I be a nomad and have chickens? Of course I can. I can give them away and get back on the road. But my priorities were to do this stuff, and because I wasn't expecting the last vehicle repair that cost $600, I now have to rebuild my emergency fund. And I have a little rule that I go by, for a personal rule, guideline, whatever, that I will not travel any further away from home than I have to go for groceries, which is about an hour away. I will not travel an hour away if I don't have at least $100 in my emergency fund. Okay? I will not travel 3 hours away, which is like going to Flagstaff for me from Apache County. I will not go 3 hours away without my basic $500 emergency fund. I will not go further than Flagstaff, so 3 hours or more away, without a basic $1,000 emergency fund. My preferred emergency fund is the $3,000 I had a couple of years ago when I finished up the contract with Hawa. But I put all that money over time, over the last 2 years, all that money and the money from the sale of the minivan that had the problem, all that money has gone into this car. And that's fine. Over time, that's fine. I, added a roof rack on the top. I added a trailer hitch so that I could use a hitch haul. I don't really want to tow. If I had to, I would. And I got a 23-0 shower enclosure that is mounted on my roof rack. I would like to put an ARB style bag awning, a small one like a 4x6 or something like that, bag awning. I would like to install one. Is that the right? Yeah, install one on the driver's side of the roof rack. I would really like to have that on the driver's side of the roof rack. And I would like to mount a hinged solar panel as kind of a lid on the roof rack itself so that I can open and close it, right? And I can leave my lawn chairs and things up in there all the time, up in that space of the cargo basket. And then I would like to have the appropriate plugs installed on the side of the car somewhere so that I can just take my little battery pack, the one I have now is 166 watts. And when I upgrade it, I would like to upgrade that to either a 300 watt or a 500 watt battery pack, but that I can just plug it in the car to that solar panel, right? And have that run without me having to set things up and take them down, and set them up and take them down, and set them up and take them down. And I still have the mattress and the sleeping bags, and I'm using them all the time. The cot that I had inside the tent that was in the video with Bob is what I'm sleeping on now inside the studio. Whatever you want to, Can I still be a nomad? What kind of question is that? Why would you be mad at me and unsubscribe from my channel thinking that I'm a bad person because I'm not like you anymore? Okay, whatever. Y'all do what you gotta do. I understand that. But anybody, not whether it's me or, anybody, there's a whole group of nomads that bought land 10 miles away from me, and they're closer to the road than I am. And there's a whole group of them that they just come and go from that piece of property over there. Good on them. I don't have a problem with that. There's a whole bunch of nomads that came here for get-togethers that I used to put on my own property, and then bought their own 40-acre plots. And they still go to, or went, it's been years ago now, but they went to some of the last RTRs that were official RTRs and were there for the couple of weeks, but I don't know whether they travel or not. They've got businesses here. They're selling solar panels and, farming and have dogs and property and, whatever. There's a number of them that came here for get-togethers and then bought property. And there's been people who came here because I had a piece of property and they loved it. They bought nearby, and they were here for a while and set up a whole little homestead situation. And they were starting to think about having animals and, like maybe even getting into ranching and stuff like that. And then decided that it was too far from town and they didn't like it anymore and they moved on. So all of those people, they have nomadic tendencies. We don't all like to sit still all the time. I am so grateful that I have what I have. I am so grateful that I was able to come into this community, in 2011 when I did, and that through it, I found this land. And through it, I have been helped on my low income that I have maneuvered. When I first got into this situation, I was trying to protect myself still from an ex-husband who was not wanting me to be alive. I was still having reverse culture shock from returning from living in Central America. I had no contact with family. I didn't really have any contact with anybody in the States anymore. So, I needed friends, and I thought I made good friends in the first couple of RTRs. I learned real quick that, people are the same everywhere, and people can be really ugly. And I think it was my second or my third RTR that somebody went off on me, and that just made me like back off and go, okay, wait a minute. These people aren't as safe as I thought they were. And so some of you have wondered why I'm standoffish. Well, yeah, I have a diagnosed mental illness, severe recurring situational depression. Okay, major depression. Whoopee. But I also have spent a lot of time working on myself, figuring out who I am so that I can meet my needs the best that I can. And to set something up like this that I can share with other people, and I do share with other people, but under very strict circumstances now, because I tried just opening it up and sharing it as get-togethers with the community, and I ran into problems, and so I won't do it that way anymore. If I want to share with the community, I will, once I'm not so busy with these things, I will take what I want to do away from here and meet up with people and do something, but not here. Here, you either have to be a really good trusted friend or something to be here, because I need safety, and this is a home base. I'm not trying to have problems here. I have enough. I've had enough problems in my life. I don't need any more. And that's enough of that. So, can I be a nomad and have chickens? Of course I can. There are nomads on the road with chickens. Think about it. The original nomads, gypsies or whatever, they had chickens in their Vardo gypsy wagons over in France and Europe. It was common. You wanted to eat, so you had a couple of chickens with you. It was not a big deal. You often they would have a cow pulled behind their wagon, Vardo things. Research history. We're not nomad. The whole thing about being a nomad is not new. Look back. Even in more recent history, I got the idea of sleeping in vans in the 70s. I got it from the hippies that came to Woodstock, which was not far, a couple of hours from where I grew up. And they would camp out in the woods that somebody did own, but anyways, in the woods in York, Maine, when on their way to and from Woodstock, and they were headed over to the coast to see what the coast of Maine looked like, and I grew up in that area when it was still country, and our neighbors were dairy cows, and there was woods to play in and stuff. So okay, I'm gonna stop with this rant, but my point being, just because I got chickens does not mean I am not going to be on the road. I can't wait to finish this big project enough. Having a place, you're never all the way finished, but I can't wait to finish the big hard stuff enough so I can get back to being in the car, and so I can clean the car out enough to show you how I made it that I can remove and replace my back seat so I can use it if I have other people around, and how I can, at a moment's notice, just take off and go camping. And I'm saying camping or go be nomadic, and I can leave this and go. This is not, I'm just trying to get the foundational pieces finished enough so I don't have to work so hard all the time. I learned this with budgeting, and I've learned this in many other parts of my life. If you sacrifice now, you do the hard stuff now, over time, those sacrifices ease up. And once you've met the goals, you can, to quote Dave Ramsey, then you can live and give like nobody else. So sometimes do the sacrifice, and then you're going to find that the blessings just flow later. So I want to help people as I'm able to learn how to be off-grid enough, have the skills that don't cost you, aren't heavy to carry, so that you can choose to be in any situation. Maybe the thing I want to share is you can survive if you learn skills. It doesn't cost anything to have skills. And if you practice the skills, not just know the stuff, but you practice them, then in an emergency, you got it. And so, like, I have practiced for years a one-match fire, or building fires without matches, which is really hard if it's raining like it was today. I filmed a little bit, but I don't know how I'm going to fit this into something. How I make coffee in the middle of the, in the dark, in the rain. And so, this morning I went out with an umbrella and my thermos, and I filled up the Kelly kettle, and I made a fire in the Kelly kettle with a fire starter. And yes, the one I happened to use was a commercial one, but there's fire starter on the ground here that when I'm not so busy, I will collect that, because I've used that many times before. And then it's free fire starter, one match, and the water will boil really fast, and there's no propane involved. And then I fill the thermos and I come inside. Now it stopped raining and it's not dark anymore. And, second cup of coffee. Thank you. Thank you, God. And I know how to make dandelion root coffee, roast dandelion and dandelion roots, and make a coffee substitute out of that. I'm looking forward to being able to plant enough dandelions here and leave them on a soaker hose when I'm traveling. That there's something here, because there'll be a day when it'll be harder to get coffee or whatever. I mean, and whether there is a day or not a day, my whole life everybody's been talking about the world ending, and it hasn't ended yet. But the big changes are hard on us, and so we do the best we can to have the healthiest food we can. Is why I chose to bring chickens to the property. And do they have to stay? No. But, excuse me. But now the hen house is built, the coop is built, and I won't have to do that again. I might have to modify it somehow or something, depending on the situation, but I won't have to redo the whole thing for a long time. So